5 years ago, something almost took everything from Chiamaka. She had just given birth, and Adebayo stood beside her, holding her hand. But suddenly, "The baby's heartbeat is dropping," the doctor shouted. Blood soaked through the hospital sheets. Chiamaka's eyes rolled back. Her body went cold. Adebayo screamed, "Please God, don't take my family away." Then, silence. The flatline, the panic, the darkness. But just when everyone thought it was the end, a baby's cry broke the silence. And then Chiamaka's heartbeat returned. Now, 5 years later, that baby is running through a mansion filled with laughter, light, and the smell of pancakes. "Kwame Jr., be careful with that," Chiamaka called out as her 5-year-old son zoomed through the living room, a toy airplane in hand, making engine noises with his mouth. "I'm a pilot, Mommy. I'm flying to London." Kwame Jr. shouted back, his eyes bright with imagination. Chiamaka couldn't help but smile. Kwame Jr. had his father's sharp eyes and her stubborn spirit. He was smart, curious, and sometimes too brave for his own good. "Even pilots need to be careful around expensive vases," Adebayo said, walking in with a cup of coffee. He scooped Kwame Jr. up with one arm, making the boy squeal with delight. "Daddy, put me down. I'm on a mission," Kwame Jr. protested, though he was laughing. Adebayo kissed his son's forehead. "What's the mission today, champion?" "I'm going to rescue Uncle Chidi from school. It's Saturday, he shouldn't be there." Chiamaka and Adebayo exchanged amused glances. Uncle Chidi had become Kwame Jr.'s hero. Now 20 years old and in his second year at the University of Ibadan studying engineering, Chidi visited every weekend. Kwame Jr. looked forward to these visits more than anything. "Uncle Chidi has a big test on Monday, remember?" "He needs to study," Chiamaka explained gently. Kwame Jr.'s face fell. "But he promised to teach me how to build a robot." Adebayo put Kwame Jr. down and knelt to his level. "Tell you what, champion, let's start building the robot today, and when Uncle Chidi comes tomorrow, you can show him what you've done." Kwame Jr.'s eyes lit up again. "Really? Can we use the special tools in your workshop?" "Of course," Adebayo replied, "but first, breakfast." As Adebayo led Kwame Jr. to the kitchen, Chiamaka's phone rang. It was Chidi. "Good morning, Sister Chiamaka." Chidi's voice sounded tired but happy. "Chidi, you sound exhausted. Have you been studying all night again?" Chiamaka asked, concern in her voice. Chidi chuckled. "Yes, these engineering calculations are hard, but I'm calling because I have good news." "What is it?" Chiamaka asked, smiling already. "I got the internship, the one at Adebayo's company in the engineering department." Chiamaka's heart swelled with pride. Chidi had applied for the internship on his own, refusing to let Adebayo pull any strings. He wanted to earn it himself. "Chidi, that's wonderful. I'm so proud of you." "Thank you, sister, for everything. I wouldn't be here without you and Adebayo." Chiamaka's eyes watered a little. "You earned this, Chidi. Your hard work, your dedication." "Kwame Jr. will be disappointed I'm not coming tomorrow," Chidi said, his voice soft. "The internship orientation is tomorrow. He'll understand. He's already telling everyone his Uncle Chidi is going to be the greatest engineer in Nigeria." They both laughed. After the call ended, Chiamaka walked to the kitchen where Adebayo and Kwame Jr. were making pancakes. Adebayo was allowing Kwame Jr. to pour the batter, resulting in oddly shaped pancakes that looked nothing like circles. "Look, Mommy, I made a pancake shaped like Africa," Kwame Jr. announced proudly. Chiamaka looked at the misshapen pancake and smiled. "It's beautiful, my love." As they sat down to eat, Adebayo noticed Chiamaka's thoughtful expression. "Everything okay with Chidi?" he asked quietly. Chiamaka nodded. "He got the internship. He starts tomorrow." Adebayo smiled. "I heard. The department head called me yesterday, said Chidi was the most impressive applicant they've had in years." Chiamaka touched Adebayo's hand. "Thank you for giving him the opportunity." Adebayo shook his head. "I didn't give him anything. He earned it. If anything, my company is lucky to have him." Kwame Jr., oblivious to the conversation, was busy drowning his pancakes in syrup. Slow down with that syrup, champion, Adebayo cautioned. But it tastes better with more, Kwame Jr. argued, his mouth already sticky. Chiamaka laughed. These simple moments of family breakfast, of ordinary conversations, of sticky syrup and misshapen pancakes, they were precious beyond words. Later that afternoon, as Adebayo and Kwame Jr. were in the workshop building their robot, Chiamaka was in her home office reviewing patient files. As the head children's doctor at one of Lagos's top hospitals, she balanced her time between work and family. Adebayo had insisted on building her a state-of-the-art home office so she could spend more time with Kwame Jr. The security guard's voice came through the intercom. "Ma, there's a woman at the gate, says she's your stepmother." Chiamaka froze. She hadn't seen Mrs. Follow-Me in over 3 years. After Kwame Jr.'s birth, Chiamaka had kept her promise, helping her father and stepmother with basic needs, but keeping them at a distance. Her father visited occasionally to see Kwame Jr., always supervised, always respectful of the boundaries Chiamaka had set. But Mrs. Follow-Me had never once asked to visit. "Did she say what she wants?" Chiamaka asked. "No, Ma, just says it's important." Chiamaka sighed. "Let her in." She walked to the living room, her heart racing slightly. Through the large windows, she could see Mrs. Follow-Me walking up the path to the house. She looked older, thinner, her once proud shoulders now slightly bent. The housekeeper opened the door and Mrs. Follow-Me stepped inside. Her eyes widened as she took in the grandeur of the house. "Chiamaka," she said, her voice softer than Chiamaka remembered. "Mrs. Follow-Me," Chiamaka replied formally. "Please, sit." Mrs. Follow-Me sat on the edge of the sofa, looking uncomfortable in the luxurious surroundings. "Would you like some water? Tea?" Chiamaka offered, more out of politeness than warmth. "Water, please," Mrs. Follow-Me replied. After the housekeeper brought water, Chiamaka sat across from her stepmother. "What brings you here after all this time?" Chiamaka asked directly. Mrs. Follow-Me took a sip of water, her hands shaking slightly. "Your father is sick," she said finally. "The doctors say it's cancer, advanced." Chiamaka's heart sank. "Cancer? What kind?" "Liver cancer. They've given him 3 months." Chiamaka's medical mind immediately started thinking of treatment options, chances of survival, possibilities. Has he started treatment? Chemotherapy? Mrs. Follow-Me shook her head. "The doctors say it's too late for that. They can only make him comfortable now." Chiamaka was silent for a moment. Her father, for all his faults, was still her father. The man who had once carried her on his shoulders before life and alcohol had hardened him. "Where is he now?" Chiamaka asked. "At home. He doesn't know I'm here." Chiamaka raised an eyebrow. "You came without telling him." Mrs. Follow-Me looked down. "He's too proud. Even now, he's too proud to ask for help. But he talks about Kwame Jr. in his sleep. About you, too. He has regrets, Chiamaka. Many regrets." Just then, the door to the workshop opened and Kwame Jr. came running in, a half-assembled robot in his hands. "Mommy, look what I—" He stopped when he saw the stranger. Chiamaka beckoned him closer. "Kwame Jr., come here, love." Kwame Jr. approached cautiously, standing close to his mother. "Kwame Jr., this is your grandmother," Chiamaka said, the words feeling strange in her mouth. Mrs. Follow-Me's eyes filled with tears as she looked at the boy. He had Chiamaka's eyes, the same eyes that had once looked at her with fear and later with defiance. "Hello, Kwame Jr., Mrs. Follow-Me said softly. Kwame Jr. looked up at his mother, then back at the woman. "I have a grandmother, like my friends at school." Chiamaka nodded. "Yes, love." Kwame Jr. tilted his head. "But where have you been? My friends' grandmothers give them cookies and tell them stories." Mrs. Follow-Me's face showed shame. I've been away." Kwame Jr. thought about this. Then, with a child's simple acceptance, he held out his robot. "Look what I'm building with Daddy. It's going to walk and talk." Mrs. Follow-Me looked at it with interest. "That's very clever. You must be a smart boy." "I am," Kwame Jr. said proudly. "Uncle Chidi says I'm a genius." "Uncle Chidi?" Mrs. Follow-Me asked, looking at Chiamaka. Chidi visits often. He's at university now, engineering, Chiamaka explained. Mrs. Follow-me nodded with a small smile. He always was a bright child. Kwame Jr., now bored, turned to Chiamaka. Can I go back to Daddy now? We're making the robot's arms next. Chiamaka nodded, and Kwame Jr. ran back to the workshop. After he left, Mrs. Follow-me wiped away a tear. He's beautiful, Chiamaka, so full of life. Thank you, Chiamaka said simply. Your father would love to see him, one last time. Chiamaka's defenses rose. Is that why you're here? To use his illness to get access to Kwame Jr.? Mrs. Follow-me shook her head firmly. Number I came because I thought you should know about your father. What you do with that information is your choice. Chiamaka studied the woman. The years had softened her, or perhaps it was the grief in her eyes. I'll need to speak with Adebayo, Chiamaka said finally, and I'll want to see the medical reports. Mrs. Follow-me nodded. Of course, I brought them with me. She handed over a folder. Chiamaka took it and stood up. Wait here. She found Adebayo in the workshop, helping Kwame Jr. attach small motors to the robot's arms. Adebayo, can I speak with you privately for a moment? Adebayo noticed the seriousness in her voice and nodded. Kwame Jr., why don't you draw some designs for the robot's face while I talk to Mommy? Once they were alone in the hallway, Chiamaka explained the situation. Your father is dying, Adebayo stated, processing the information. Chiamaka nodded. According to the medical reports, yes. Terminal liver cancer. Adebayo's face was solemn. What do you want to do, Chiamaka? Chiamaka leaned against the wall, suddenly feeling tired. I don't know. Part of me wants to say it's not my problem, after everything he did. Adebayo placed his hands on her shoulders. But the other part? The other part remembers the father who taught me to ride a bicycle, who used to sing to me at night, before my mother died, before everything changed. Adebayo pulled her close. Whatever you decide, I'm with you, always. Chiamaka took a deep breath. I think I need to see him, to know for myself. Adebayo nodded. Do you want me to come with you? Yes, Chiamaka said without hesitation, but not Kwame Jr., not yet. They returned to the living room where Mrs. Follow-me was still waiting, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. We'll come to see him tomorrow, Chiamaka announced. Just us, not Kwame Jr. I want to see the situation myself first. Relief flooded Mrs. Follow-me's face. Thank you, Chiamaka. He'll be grateful, even if he doesn't show it. After Mrs. Follow-me left, Chiamaka stood by the window, watching the woman walk down the path. So many emotions swirled within her. Ah, wow. Anger, pity, grief for what might have been. Adebayo came to stand beside her. Are you okay? Chiamaka shook her head. I don't know what I feel, Adebayo. I spent so many years being angry at him, then trying to forgive him, then keeping him at a safe distance. And now you might not have the luxury of time, Adebayo finished for her. Chiamaka nodded. Exactly. The next day, after leaving Kwame Jr. with his nanny, Chiamaka and Adebayo drove to the small apartment in Surulere, where her father and stepmother lived. It was modest but clean, paid for by Chiamaka's monthly stipend. When they entered, Chiamaka was shocked by the change in her father. The once strong, intimidating man was now thin and frail, seated in an armchair, a blanket over his legs despite the warm day. His eyes, however, were still sharp. Chiamaka, he said, his voice weaker but still carrying the deep tone she remembered. Father, she replied, stepping closer. You didn't have to come, he said, trying to sound gruff but failing. Mrs. Follow-me told me you were sick. He shot an accusatory glance at his wife. She shouldn't have bothered you. Chiamaka sat down beside him. Is it true, the diagnosis? He nodded once. Doctors say 3 months, probably less. Chiamaka, in doctor mode now, asked, Pain management? Are you comfortable? A flicker of surprise crossed his face at her professional tone. Good days and bad. Today is manageable. Adebayo hung back, giving them space, but Mr. Ikenna acknowledged him with a nod. Adebayo, taking good care of my daughter and grandson? Every day, Adebayo replied simply. Good, Mr. Ikenna said. She deserves it. Always did. The admission hung in the air between them. Chiamaka wasn't sure how to respond. This man, acknowledging her worth, was so different from the father who had once given her away in place of a debt. I hear Kwame Jr. is 5 now, Mr. Ikenna said after a moment. Smart boy, they say. Chiamaka nodded. Very smart and kind. Like his mother, Mr. Ikenna said quietly. Chiamaka's throat tightened. Would you like to see him? Kwame Jr. The hope that flashed across her father's face was unmistakable, but he quickly masked it. Only if you think it's right. I wouldn't want to confuse the boy. Chiamaka thought for a moment. He asked about you yesterday, about his grandfather. What did you tell him? The truth, that you live far away, but that you're his grandfather. Mr. Ikenna closed his eyes briefly. Thank you for that, at least. They talked for a while longer, about Chidi's success at university, about Chiamaka's work at the hospital, about Kwame Jr.'s latest adventures. It was the most normal conversation Chiamaka had ever had with her father. As they were preparing to leave, Mr. Ikenna called Chiamaka back. Chiamaka, he said, his voice suddenly urgent. I know it's too late for many things. Too late for me to be the father you deserved. But is it too late for me to see my grandson, just once? The vulnerability in his question caught Chiamaka off guard. This was not the proud, angry man who had dominated her childhood. This was a man facing his mortality, reaching for a chance at some small redemption. Chiamaka looked at Adebayo, who gave a slight nod of support. I'll bring him next week, Chiamaka said, but there are conditions. Anything, her father replied quickly. He doesn't know about our past, about how you treated me. I want to keep it that way. To him, you're just his grandfather who's been living far away. Mr. Ikenna nodded. I understand. And the visit will be short, just an hour. If it goes well, we can come again. Thank you, Chiamaka, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Thank you. On the drive home, Chiamaka was quiet, processing the visit. What are you thinking? Adebayo asked gently. I'm thinking about forgiveness, Chiamaka replied, about how complicated it is. Adebayo reached for her hand. You're doing the right thing, Chiamaka. Not for him, but for yourself, and for Kwame Jr. Chiamaka squeezed his hand. I hope so. The following week, Chiamaka and Adebayo brought Kwame Jr. to meet his grandfather. They had prepared him, explaining that his grandfather was very sick and might look different from other grandfathers. Kwame Jr., with the resilience of children, took it in stride. Is he too sick to play Robot Wars? He asked. Chiamaka smiled. Yes, love, but you can show him your drawings. When they arrived, Kwame Jr. was initially shy, hiding behind Adebayo's legs. But Mr. Ikenna, despite his weakness, knew exactly how to draw the boy out. I hear you're building a robot, he said to Kwame Jr. When I was young, we had to make our own toys too. Kwame Jr.'s interest was piqued. You made toys? Mr. Ikenna nodded. Wooden cars, slingshots. Once I even made a small boat that floated on the river Ogun near our house. Kwame Jr. moved closer. Can you teach me to make a boat? I'm a bit too tired for that now, Mr. Ikenna said honestly, but I can tell you how. For the next hour, Kwame Jr. sat beside his grandfather, listening to stories of childhood adventures, of toys made from scratch, of a different Nigeria from long ago. Chiamaka watched in amazement as her father transformed before her eyes, his pain seemingly forgotten as he engaged with his grandson. As promised, they kept the visit short, but as they were leaving, Kwame Jr. surprised everyone by giving his grandfather a tight hug. I'll come back to hear more stories, he promised. Mr. Ikenna's eyes were wet as he nodded. I'd like that very much. Over the next few weeks, they visited regularly. Each time, Mr. Ikenna seemed weaker, but his spirit was stronger. He and Kwame Jr. developed their own special bond, built on stories and the simple, unquestioning acceptance that children offer. During one visit, while Kwame Jr. was showing his grandfather a new drawing, Mrs. Follow-Me pulled Chiamaka aside. I need to tell you something, she said quietly. Chiamaka tensed, prepared for some new problem. I was wrong about you, Chiamaka, Mrs. Follow-me said, her voice trembling slightly. All those years ago, I was wrong. You were never the problem. The problem was my own bitterness. Chiamaka was stunned by the admission. Seeing you now, the doctor, the mother, the wife, I realize what a remarkable woman you are. Despite us, not because of us. Chiamaka didn't know how to respond. The apology was decades late, but it was sincere. Thank you for allowing us in Kwame Jr.'s life, Mrs. Follow-me continued. It has given your father peace I never thought he'd find. Chiamaka nodded, still processing the moment. It's for Kwame Jr. too. He deserves to know his family, all of it. A week later, in the middle of the night, Chiamaka's phone rang. It was Mrs. Follow-me. He's asking for you, she said simply. The doctors say it's time. Chiamaka and Adebayo rushed to the hospital. Chidi met them there, his face drawn with worry. He's been asking for all of us, Chidi explained, even me. They entered the hospital room together. Mr. Ikenna lay in the bed, oxygen tubes in his nose, his breathing labored. But his eyes lit up when he saw them. My family, he whispered, all together. Chiamaka moved to his side, taking his hand. As a doctor, she recognized the signs. The end was near. Where's Kwame Jr.? Mr. Ikenna asked. At home, sleeping, Chiamaka replied gently. It's the middle of the night. Mr. Ikenna nodded in understanding. Tell him his grandfather loves him. Tell him to keep building things. The world needs builders. I will, Chiamaka promised, tears forming in her eyes. Mr. Ikenna looked at Chidi next. You boy, you're going to be something great. I've always known it. Chidi nodded, unable to speak through his emotion. Finally, Mr. Ikenna turned to Chiamaka. My daughter, my beautiful, strong daughter, can you ever forgive a foolish old man? Chiamaka's tears fell freely now. I forgave you a long time ago, father. It wasn't entirely true, but in that moment it became true. The weight of years of anger and pain seemed to lift from Chiamaka's shoulders. Your mother would be proud, Mr. Ikenna whispered. So proud of you. Those were his last words. As the dawn broke over Lagos, Mr. Ikenna took his final breath, surrounded by the family he had once broken, now somehow mended. The funeral was simple but dignified. Adebayo had insisted on handling all arrangements, ensuring Mr. Ikenna was buried with respect. Kwame Jr., too young to fully understand death, placed a drawing of a boat on his grandfather's casket. So he can sail to heaven, he explained when Chiamaka asked. In the weeks that followed, Chiamaka found herself reflecting on the journey she had taken, from the dusty village of Umuoma to the mansion on Banana Island, from the abused daughter to the successful doctor, from the broken girl to the complete woman. One evening, as she watched Adebayo teaching Kwame Jr. how to ride a bicycle in their spacious garden, Chiamaka felt a deep sense of peace wash over her. The cycle of pain had been broken. Her son would never know the fear and rejection she had experienced. He would grow up surrounded by love, by opportunity, by the freedom to become whoever he wanted to be. Mrs. Follow-me had moved into a small house nearby, purchased by Chiamaka. To everyone's surprise, she had become a doting grandmother to Kwame Jr., bringing him homemade cookies and telling him stories of village life. Time and grief had softened the once hard woman, and Chiamaka had found it in her heart to allow this new relationship to develop. Chidi graduated with honors and joined Okafor Enterprises as a full engineer, his talent quickly marking him for leadership. He remained a constant in Kwame Jr.'s life, the beloved uncle who made time every week to build robots, launch rockets, or simply listen to the boys' endless questions. As for Chiamaka and Adebayo, their love had only deepened with time. Adebayo's business continued to flourish, but he always made family his priority. Chiamaka's medical practice focused on bringing quality healthcare to underserved communities. Her way of healing not just bodies, but the social wounds she understood all too well. One night, as they lay in bed after a particularly full day, Adebayo turned to Chiamaka. Do you remember what you said to me all those years ago in the boys' quarters? When you thought I was just a poor security guard? Chiamaka smiled at the memory. I said many things. Which one do you mean? You said you believed one day God would answer my prayers and make me a wealthy man." Chiamaka laughed softly. "Well, I was right, wasn't I?" Adebayo shook his head. "No, you were wrong." Chiamaka raised an eyebrow. "Oh, how so?" Adebayo pulled her close. "God made me wealthy long before the money came. The day you chose to stand by me, to believe in me, to love me despite having nothing, that's the day I became the richest man in Nigeria." Chiamaka's eyes filled with tears. "And the day you showed me respect and kindness was the day I became a queen. Not because of your money, but because you helped me find my worth." Outside their window, the lights of Lagos twinkled like stars. From the dust of a village to the heights of success, Chiamaka's journey had been one of pain turned into purpose, tears turned into triumph. And as she drifted to sleep in her husband's arms, Chiamaka thanked God for the difficult road that had led her here, to this moment, this life, this love. A love that had been tested by poverty and wealth, by family and forgiveness, by life and death. A love that had emerged stronger through it all. This, she realized, was her true legacy. Not the mansion, not the career, not even the family name, but the proof that a heart once broken could be made whole again. That a spirit once crushed could rise to amazing heights. That a girl once rejected could become a woman of immeasurable value. And that, dear viewers, is the greatest wealth of all. With her father's last breath, the cycle of pain that had haunted Chiamaka's family for generations was finally broken. As she held her son in one arm and her husband's hand in the other, she realized money hadn't saved her, our love had. And that's the truth they don't teach you in villages or mansions. Sometimes the richest people aren't those with billions in the bank, but those with the courage to forgive when forgiveness seems impossible. This concludes Chiamaka's journey, but your comments will determine whose story we tell next week. The most requested family drama will be featured, so tell us now. Whose Nigerian story should we explore next? What did you learn from Chiamaka's journey of forgiveness? Has there been a time when you had to forgive someone who deeply hurt you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to never miss our uploads. We'll be back next week with another inspiring folktale.